So lesson 1 is a review from CIT 110. We have students who took it last semester. We have students who took it a year ago. We have students who took it more than 5 years ago and everything in between. So we start with a review. And so the web readings, obviously there are quite a few. So I have links here. This is talking about Visual Studio. You may or may not have used that in the 110 course. So make sure you read through that. That'll give you background information on Visual Studio itself. And this actually explains how to use the code editor in Visual Studio. So both of those are useful. Even if you had the 110 course, I think reviewing those is a good idea. If you had the 110 course with me, at least. Creating projects and solutions, that again deals with using Visual Studio. What is the .NET framework? Gives you a little overview of that. And then we get into an actual review of C#. Okay, so we get into the program structure, syntax, data types, all of that. Okay, so you're going to read through these, and you do have 2 weeks to get all of this done. Okay, and then once you're done with the reading, there is a lecture demo for you to read through. This has got additional information. Some of the information in here is not in the readings. So each of these sections does have a YouTube video. And this is information that I've actually compiled from the 110 class. So some of this, at least for my 110 students, is going to look familiar. But this is actually a really nice review for you. Okay, and the videos do go through and explain everything. So every single one of these sections has a video. And as you're looking through these topics, if there's something that, you don't remember, you can actually go directly to it by just clicking on the link. Okay, so this is a really good resource for all of you to go through lots of coding examples. And once you finish the readings and the review, you are going to be ready for the assignment. Now, for those of you who have never used a Visual Studio before, how to create and run an app, this kind of walks you through a very, very simple app. So, in fact, I don't even think we change code. So this is like the default code, but it does show you and explain how all of this works in Visual Studio. Again, this might be new for some of you. It may be a review for others. We are going to be submitting assignments to GitHub. Probably picked up on that when you created your GitHub account. So inside Visual Studio, it is really easy to submit assignments, to push them up to GitHub. And so this video kind of walks you through how to do that. But right in your Visual Studio menu is the command to create the repository and push your code up. So this kind of walks you through how all of that works. Okay, and if you have problems, typical problems are people forgot to remove the private check, so I can't see it. It has to be public. So how do you fix that after you have it online? Okay, or what if you need to resubmit a project? How are you going to do that? What's the easiest way to resubmit? So I go through all of that information here as well. So after you go through how to create and run the app, how to submit the app to GitHub, now we get into the lab assignment. And so this is going to be a lengthier assignment. You have several weeks to get this done. And being the nice guy I am, I have videos for each one of the exercises. And again, because you're going to be submitting work to GitHub, I have a link to that GitHub page that explains how that works. And so I'm not going to re-explain each of these exercises because there's a full explanation in each of these videos. But you can see that I'm giving you basically the main program here. And I've got comments that explain what these different things do. And you are going to have to create the methods. And this video shows you how to do that in a pretty simple way. There's a command that you can use in Visual Studio that will kind of create a method stub. It'll actually do the method header, the first line of the method. It'll put the curly braces in, and you just need to kind of put in the code that you want. And the video shows you all of that. And then I actually walk through and I complete several of the methods, and you guys can watch. So I think that will really help you create this first exercise. Second exercise, you get to do your own interactive story. Okay, and so there's a video that explains that. Then for program 3, there are a couple of missing methods. And this one does utilize exception handling. So I do give you an example method of division, and you're going to have to do something similar for addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Okay. And so the video goes through, how to do it for multiplication. I actually walk through the code and explain how it works. And then I complete multiplication. I also complete the right feedback method. And then on your own, you have to do subtraction and addition. And then this last one deals with overloaded methods. So you're going to end up, everything is here except for the convert temp methods, which are overloaded. One of them is receiving an integer number to convert, and the other one is receiving a double. Okay, and so that last video is going to walk you through how to do this. I actually work through how to create the convert temp that receives the integer. And then you will have to do something similar for the integer, and you'll also have to create the convert temp that receives the double. So that is the assignment. Make sure when you push up to GitHub that the exercises are public and not private. It's a matter of removing a check mark. If they are private, it's going to look like they're not there. Like I will click on your link and it will go to a 404, not their page. Okay, so make sure that you have them public. And then there are a couple of discussion exercises that you need to complete. And so this is on solid design principles, and then we have one on design patterns. Both super important topics for developers. And so I'm going to have you research solid design principles. You are going to review information at the links that I provided. And after you read through this, I want you to provide a real world example that utilizes at least one of the design principles you learned about. So you will add a discussion topic, and you will be giving us a real world example. All right, so I decided to do a little example here to help you guys out. So you're going to read through these, and it's basically going to go through what these solid design principles are. And so one of them is open closed principle. And so basically that one says that instead of modifying a class, you are going to create a new inherited class from it. So here's my example. So I have an animal class that includes name, age, and coloring. And I'd like to expand that to include habitat and scientific name for a research project I am working on. So instead of changing the animal class, I would use inheritance to derive a new scientific animal class that adds the scientific name and the habitat. So my new scientific animal class would include name, age, and coloring from the base, and then it would also include the scientific name and the habitat from its new derived class. Okay, so that's one example. Another example would be automobile, right? So we could have, I'll do another example here. So I have an auto class. It can even be, I could do auto class that has make, model, color, and year. So I would like to do a Mercedes class. Okay, so Mercedes, I might want to store some additional information, like condition, just because of, the older models can be valuable. So I might want to then, I would create actually derive a new inherited Mercedes class from the auto class that includes maybe condition, purchase price, and whatever else I would want, etc. So that way it would also include make, model, color, year. And I think maybe this should be year. We're assuming that's the year that it was created, right? So then this would be the condition, purchase price. Probably I would put wholesale price and then maybe retail price. Okay, but I think you guys are getting the idea. So then my new Mercedes class would have everything from the base, plus it would have, the new fields as well. So that is the kind of thing that you need to do for this. And this is just the open close principle. There are other principles that you could choose to use. And this last example gives you some other real life examples so that you can think of things to post. So once you post, you are going to want to review your classmates' posts and then reply to 2 of them. And if you come in here and there are no other posts besides mine, you certainly can reply to mine as one of the 2 that you need to reply to. Your next discussion is on design patterns in object-oriented programming. So I've got links to 3 different articles on design patterns, and you're going to select one design pattern and explain how it is used. Then describe a real world example of the pattern you selected. And then I would like you to review your classmates' posts and reply to at least 5. Okay, and I will add an example. So hold on a second. All right, so I did a little example on the state design pattern. This is something that we see a lot, or that we end up coding quite a bit. And you'll learn quite a bit more about it in the 218 class. But the link that I found the most useful is the last one, because this gets into specific design patterns in C#. And you can kind of look through here. And the one that I ended up picking was a behavioral pattern, and I chose state. Okay, so that took me into here, okay, where it explains what this is, problems with it. But if you scroll down past the solution, it gets into a real world analogy. And I think that this is what is going to help you understand what that design pattern does. And by reading through the real world analogy, then you should be able to figure out an example, and all of this other information is great. But right now, I want you guys to get a feel for what the design pattern is and how it is used, and not necessarily the ins and outs of actually coding it, okay, but basically what it is. So here's another page that I pulled up on state. And again, it gets into more coding, but you don't really have to be concerned with the coding. You need to know what it is, and you need to give me an example of what it does. Okay, so here is what I wrote. Does the state design pattern changes behavior based on a change in its internal state? And here's an example. My example was with a laptop battery. Okay, so if the battery is too low, the laptop goes into low power mode. And I'm sure you guys can think of all sorts of examples. We will be working with this a lot. And I can tell you an example that you see in C# already with exception handling, because if there is an error, the whole program goes into an error state. Okay, and so that would be a change in the behavior. It throws an error. And so then if you don't handle it in exception handling, your program bombs. So if you incorporate exception handling, you handle the error. But that would be another state change. Okay, so, as you look through these different examples, look for the real world analogy, because I think that that is going to help you understand what the purpose of the design pattern is. Okay, and so that is the second discussion. And you do need to find 5 classmates to reply to. This is a one where I would like you to read through what your classmates post, because there are quite a few different design patterns. And in the topic title, indicate which one you are going to describe. And by all means, you guys certainly can reply to mine. Okay, that's perfectly fine, as one of your 5. Okay, so that is basically what you are going to be working on this week. We've got the lab assignment with the 4 exercises, and then we have the 2 discussions. And the second discussion is a little bit harder, so it is worth more points. If you run into problems with anything, please let me know. If it's a coding issue, make sure you copy the code, paste it into an email, and send it to me, because then I can take a look at it and figure out what the problem is. Additional resources this week, I did link to a Git tutorial if you'd like to learn more about GitHub. And occasionally, and this usually happens on Macs, people do have issues with getting it to push to the repository to create and push up to GitHub. There is another way that you can connect to GitHub. This is not something that we normally do in this class. This is something that I've done in 200 level classes, but I did include the information here for you. This is more of a command line method. So this, like I said, was for another class, but I think you can kind of get the gist of, how you would push information up using this method. And like I said, if you have any problems at all with GitHub, or if you want to use this command line and you're having issues, please let me know, because I am here to help you. Okay, so have an awesome week. Remember, you do get a couple weeks for this review. Do not wait until the 5th to try to get all this done, because you will not be able to. If I'm giving you a couple weeks, you need the couple weeks, okay? And please reach out if you have any questions at all, and have a great couple weeks.